The dream of moving to Florida to keep every cent of your adult industry earnings is officially turning into a legal nightmare. For years, creators like Sophie Rain have treated the Sunshine State as a tax haven, building content empires like the Bop House and raking in millions under the Florida sun. But on January 14, 2026, the entire industry shifted. A proposed 50% sin tax is now targeting the state's top earners, and the financial receipts are finally starting to leak. While Sophie Rain claims she's a self-made multi-millionaire with over $100 million in career earnings, a new wave of legal pressure is exposing a hidden world of high-priced rentals, shadowy agency control, and a looming tax bill that could wipe out her entire fortune in a single filing. This raises three massive questions the industry has been trying to bury for years. Can the government legally seize half of a creator's gross revenue? Is the Bop House actually a profitable business or just an expensive PR front designed to keep creators in debt? And what happens when a creator's personal brand of faith meets the cold reality of a statewide moral crackdown? Today, we are following the money, the manipulation, and the massive legal mistakes to see if Florida's biggest star is about to become its biggest casualty. Before we get to the shock of the tax war, we have to talk about the collapse of the Bop House Collective and the silent predator behind it, the agency's shadow tax. This is the second most shocking part of this story because it reveals the manipulation that happens long before the government gets involved. Per an industry insider report from late 2025, the Bop House was billed as a creator utopia, a $100,000 a month Miami penthouse where the top talent could collaborate and grow. But in July 2025, Sophie Rain abruptly announced her departure. In an exclusive statement to Us Weekly, she admitted that the environment had shifted from empowerment to control. According to leaked details of the fallout between Sophie and co-founder Camila Araujo, the management team was allegedly dictating every move, from the specific dates of collaborations to the actual percentages of the payout. This is the classic agency trap. These collectives provide the luxury backdrop and the viral growth, but per the legal disputes following the split, they often take a cut of between 30 and 50% of the total revenue. When the management controls the lease on the penthouse and the login to the platform dashboard, the creator is less of a CEO and more of a high-paid tenant. Sophie hinted that she felt like she was losing her own voice inside the very house she built, proving that even at the top, the creators are often the last ones to actually own their money. Now, we have to address the most shocking piece of evidence in this entire saga, the James Fishback sin tax proposal. This is the #1 receipt that changes the entire narrative for every creator based in Florida. On January 14, 2026, Fishback, a candidate for Florida governor, officially declared war on the blue site. He proposed a first-of-its-kind 50% tax specifically on income earned through adult content platforms. Per the official statement released to NXR Studios, Fishback labeled these sites as online degeneracy platforms and argued that the tax would generate over $200 million for Florida's public school system and teacher salaries. Think about the math here. If Sophie Rain's claim of making $50 to $100 million is true, she would be personally responsible for a $25 to $50 million payment to the state of Florida. According to her exclusive response to People magazine on January 14, she called the proposal the dumbest thing she had ever heard, questioning why a 31-year-old man should tell her what to do with her body. But the legal reality is that the state has broad powers to tax specific industries. Per the analysis of the 2026 legislative session, this tax isn't just a political stunt. It is a strategic move to drive the industry out of Florida entirely. It turns the Sunshine State from a tax haven into a financial dead zone for the top 1%. The third big question we have to answer is whether Sophie's public image can survive the scrutiny of a state-level audit. Sophie has famously marketed her content based on her Christianity and her personal values, often stating that her work doesn't conflict with her faith. Per her comments to Mint on January 14, 2026, she asked, "How do you charge a sin tax to a Christian who hasn't sinned?" However, the political filing uses this very image as a target. Fishback's proposal frames the tax as a tool to disincentivize behavior that he claims leads young men and women away from traditional values. This puts Sophie in a dangerous legal position. To fight the tax, she may have to file a constitutional challenge, which would require opening her full, unedited financial records for public discovery. Per the skeptics in the financial community, the industry is terrified of this. Most creators use gross revenue numbers to maintain their clout, but an audit would reveal the true net profit after agency fees, chargebacks, and production costs. Per the reports from the July 2025 court proceedings regarding the Bop House split, there were already questions about how the group's $12 to $15 million monthly revenue was actually being distributed. If a court finds that the creators are misrepresenting their income to avoid existing taxes, the sin tax will be the least of their worries. We also have to look at the personal and physical costs of this level of high-profile wealth. Per the police reports from February 2025, the Bop House was hit with a terrifying security breach. A stalker was arrested after a standoff with SWAT agents at a Fort Lauderdale home associated with Sophie and her team. According to the police records, the man had broken into the house while the crew was at the Super Bowl and tried to convince them he was the new owner. This is the reality behind the filtered Instagram stories. To maintain the illusion of the $50 million girl, creators have to spend millions on private security, gated estates, and legal teams. According to industry insiders, the overhead for a top-tier creator in 2026, including the Miami penthouse, the security detail, and the agency fees, can reach up to 70% of their gross income. If you add a 50% sin tax on top of that, the business becomes mathematically impossible. Per the data from early 2026, we are seeing the first signs of a mass exodus. Creators who moved to Florida for the 0% state income tax are now packing their bags as the state prepares to take more than half of their earnings. As we move deeper into 2026, the fallout from the Bop House era is becoming a cautionary tale for the next generation of creators. Sophie Rain's departure was more than just a roommate dispute. It was a breakdown of the entire collective model. Per the interviews she gave on the Bangin' Out podcast in December 2025, she revealed a desire to move to a 20-acre farm in Tampa and leave the drama of the content houses behind. But the reality is that you can't run from the taxman. Per the latest reports from the Florida Department of Revenue, the state is looking at ways to track digital earnings through platform direct audits. This means the days of self-reporting income and hoping for the best are over. According to legal analysts, the mistake Sophie and other creators made was thinking that the Blue site was a lawless frontier. They built their brands on the idea that they were untouchable, but the American Express lawsuits and the Florida sin tax show that the traditional financial and political worlds are finally catching up. The final reinforcement here is the shift in how the industry is being managed. Per the leaked agency agreements from late 2025, many top creators are now being forced into even more restrictive contracts as agencies try to hedge against new taxes. Some agencies are reportedly moving their headquarters offshore while keeping their talent in high-tax states like Florida, leaving the creators to foot the bill for the new legislation. According to the exclusive statements from former Bop House members, the pressure to maintain a specific lifestyle to stay relevant is higher than ever. Sophie Rain is currently the face of the resistance against the James Fishback tax, but per the political polls, the proposal is gaining traction among voters who want to see the money redirected to education. This is the ultimate payout. The very fans who fueled the rise of the Blue site are now living in a state that wants to use those subscription dollars to fund the public school system. In summary, the Sophie Rain tax war is a perfect example of why the expectation of industry wealth rarely matches the reality of the business. We proved that the luxury of the Bop House was often overshadowed by agency control and internal falling outs. We saw how a single political candidate can use a creator's viral fame to push for a 50% seizure of their income. The industry is built on a foundation of clout and managed dashboards, but the reality is a system that is increasingly targeted by the government and drained by overhead costs. If a star as big as Sophie Rain, with over $100 million in claimed earnings, can be singled out for a viral beef that threatens her entire net worth, nobody in the game is safe. This isn't just about one penthouse in Miami, it is about the end of the unregulated gold rush. The game has changed, and the people at the top are finding out that the price of fame in Florida might just be 50% of everything they have. As the industry moves toward more regulation and higher taxes in 2026, the lessons from Sophie Rain saga are essential for anyone trying to understand the game. The era of the fake lifestyle and the zero tax haven is coming to an end, replaced by the reality of state-level audits and political crackdowns. To see the deeper patterns of how these creators are managed and the specific tactics the state is using to track their income, you need to see the full picture. For the breakdown of the business moves that the top 1% are using to hide their wealth and the agency secrets that are finally being exposed in court, click on the Velvet Rope Industry Secrets playlist now. It is the only way to stay ahead of the game before the next tax bill drops.